The morning felt perfect. I stood in front of my mirror, straightened my tie, and smiled. Only 5 more days, I whispered. Then Emily will finally be my wife. I grabbed the folder she had forgotten at my apartment the night before. She had rushed out early, saying she had an important meeting. I'll take it to her, I told myself. She'll be happy. For weeks, Emily had seemed distracted. She answered messages late, canceled dinner twice, and looked exhausted whenever we met. Wedding stress, I kept saying. Every excuse sounded reasonable because I trusted her. When I reached her office building, the receptionist smiled. Good morning, Ethan. Morning. Emily forgot these documents. She's upstairs. Thanks. I stepped into the elevator, still imagining how surprised Emily would be. Maybe we'd have lunch together. Maybe she'd smile the way she used to. The elevator doors opened onto the executive floor. As I walked toward her office, I heard laughter. I stopped. Emily's laugh. Another voice answered. A man's voice. I recognized it immediately. Ryan Brooks. Their office door wasn't completely closed. I froze beside the hallway wall without making a sound. Ryan chuckled. So, are you finally going to tell Ethan? Emily laughed again. Tell him what? That it's over. She sighed dramatically. I don't know. He's sweet. Sweet doesn't sound like love. It isn't. My fingers tightened around the folder. Ryan asked, then why stay with him? Emily answered without hesitation. Because he was safe. I felt my heartbeat slow instead of race. Safe? Ryan laughed. And now? Now I don't need safe. What changed? You. Silence filled my ears. Ryan spoke again. So Ethan was just waiting room furniture? Emily laughed so hard I almost didn't recognize her voice. That's terrible, but true. Fine. Yes. Ryan whistled. Poor guy. Emily shrugged. He loved me. They made everything easy. And the wedding? She laughed again. I honestly think if I asked him to attend my wedding to someone else, he'd probably come. Both of them burst into laughter. The folder slipped slightly in my hands. 5 years. 5 years of birthdays. 5 years of promises. 5 years of believing every I love you. Ryan lowered his voice. Do you feel guilty? A little. Only a little. I cared about him. Cared. Ryan, let's be honest. Ethan could never give me this life. This life. She answered immediately. The penthouse. The trips. The connections. The future. What about love? Emily laughed once more. Love doesn't pay for dreams. Every word landed harder than the last. I wanted someone to wake me. I wanted someone to tell me this wasn't real. Instead, I heard Ryan say quietly, you made the right choice. I know. I'll make sure you never regret it. I already don't. Something inside me finally broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, like glass cracking under too much pressure. I looked at the engagement ring resting inside the small velvet box in my pocket. I had planned to give it back to Emily after having it resized. Now it felt heavier than a stone. I stepped away from the wall. My shoes echoed across the hallway. The laughter inside stopped instantly. I reached for the office door. My hand rested on the handle. For one final second, I prayed I had misunderstood everything. Then I opened the door. The room fell silent the moment I walked inside. Emily stared at me. The color drained from her face. Ethan, she whispered. Ryan leaned back in his chair without the slightest hint of guilt. I placed a folder on Emily's desk. You forgot these. Neither of them spoke. I looked at Emily. So everything I heard was true? She lowered her eyes for only a second before looking back at me. You heard all of it? I heard enough. Ryan folded his arms. Then I guess there's nothing left to hide. I ignored him. Emily, tell me I'm misunderstood. She took a slow breath. You didn't. I felt my throat tighten. 5 years. I know. 5 years, Emily. I'm sorry. I shook my head. No, don't say you're sorry unless you actually mean it. She remained silent. I asked quietly, did you ever love me? She hesitated. I did. Did. Things changed. What changed? She looked toward Ryan. My future. I laughed once. It sounded empty even to me. So I wasn't enough. Ethan. No. Answer me. She crossed her arms. You've always been kind. You've always been loyal. But kindness doesn't build the life I want. I would spend my whole life building it with you. I don't want to wait anymore. Ryan stood and adjusted his expensive suit. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I finally faced him. You think this is your business? It became my business when Emily chose me. I stepped closer. You knew she was engaged. He smiled. She made her own decision. You enjoyed humiliating me. I enjoy winning. His words hit like another punch. You call this winning? I have the successful company, the money, and now your fiancé. You tell me. Emily reached toward me. Ethan, please don't cause a scene. I stared at her hand until she slowly pulled it back. A scene. My voice cracked. I just watched the woman I planned to marry laugh about using me. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. She wiped away a tear. I couldn't ignore the opportunity. So, I was just an opportunity too? She couldn't answer. That silence told me everything. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the velvet box. Emily looked at it with wide eyes. I had your ring resized. I opened the box one last time. The diamonds sparkled under the office lights. I thought we'd wear these forever. She bit her lip. I'm sorry. I closed the box. No, you're sorry you got caught. Ryan checked his watch. I think we're done here. I looked directly at him. One day you'll treat her exactly the way you treated everyone else. He laughed. You sound jealous. No. I slipped the ring back into my pocket. I sound free. Without another word, I turned around and walked toward the door. Ethan, Emily called. I stopped but didn't look back. I hope, someday, you forgive me. I answered quietly. I hope someday you understand what you threw away. Then I walked out. By the time I reached my car, I could barely breathe. I sat behind the wheel for almost an hour before driving anywhere. That evening, my sister, Claire Bennett, opened her front door and immediately hugged me. You saw them, didn't you? I nodded. She made tea without asking questions. After I finally told her everything, she sighed. I've never trusted Ryan Brooks. You knew him? Only by reputation. She looked at me carefully. Ryan has ruined a lot of lives. I don't care anymore. I think you will. She leaned forward. Ryan has one person who hates him more than anyone else. Who? His ex-wife. I frowned. Olivia Brooks? Claire nodded. The divorce destroyed both of them in public. I don't want revenge. I'm not telling you to get revenge. Then why tell me? She smiled sadly. Because if anyone could ruin Ryan's perfect future. She paused until I met her eyes. It's Olivia. Those words stayed with me long after I went home. For the first time since my world fell apart, I couldn't stop wondering who Olivia Brooks really was. Claire's words refused to leave my mind. If anyone could ruin Ryan's perfect future, it's Olivia. For 3 days, I ignored the thought. I buried myself in work, avoided Emily's calls, and pretended my life was moving forward. It wasn't. Finally, I asked Claire, do you know how I can reach Olivia? She studied me carefully. Why? I have questions. Questions or revenge? I honestly don't know. She sighed and handed me a business card. Her office. Don't waste her time. The next afternoon, I stood outside a modern glass building. My hands felt colder than the winter air. I can still leave, I whispered. Instead, I walked inside. The receptionist smiled politely. Good afternoon. I'm here to see Olivia Brooks. Your name? Ethan Walker. She typed something, then looked surprised. Ms. Brooks is expecting you. I frowned. Expecting me? Please take the elevator to the top floor. Every step made me more nervous. I expected security guards. I expected expensive decorations. Most of all, I expected an angry woman obsessed with destroying Ryan. The office door opened before I knocked. A tall woman with dark brown hair smiled gently. You must be Ethan. You already know me? I do. I'm sorry for showing up without an appointment. You actually have one. I never booked one. She laughed softly. I booked it. I stared at her. You knew I would come? I hoped you would. She motioned toward a chair. Please sit. I remained standing. I don't understand. You will. Her calm voice surprised me. She didn't look bitter. She didn't look broken. She looked peaceful. I finally sat. She poured coffee into 2 cups. Sugar? No, thank you. She nodded and handed me 1 cup. I know this week has been difficult. You know about Emily. I know about Emily and Ryan. Ow! I've been watching Ryan for months. I blinked. Watching him, not personally. She smiled. My attorney handles that. Before I could ask another question, the office door opened. A man carrying several folders stepped inside. Olivia, the contracts are ready. He noticed me and stopped. Oh, sorry. It's fine, Olivia said. Daniel, this is Ethan Walker. He offered his hand. Daniel Foster. I shook it. Nice to meet you. You too. Daniel looked at Olivia. I'll wait outside. Thank you. He quietly left the room. I looked back at Olivia. So your attorney investigates your ex-husband? When necessary. You expected Ryan to betray someone else? She took a slow sip of coffee. I expected Ryan to stay exactly who he has always been. You don't sound angry. I was. What changed? I got tired. Tired of letting Ryan control my emotions. I stayed silent. She leaned forward. Ethan, do you know why I recognize your name immediately? I shook my head. Because Ryan mentioned you months ago. My stomach tightened. What did he say? He laughed. I looked away. I'm not surprised. He called you predictable. I forced a smile. That sounds like him. She watched me carefully. No. What? That sounds like a bully. I met her eyes again. For the first time since my engagement ended, someone wasn't treating my pain like entertainment. She quietly added, there's something else you deserve to know. What is it? I investigated Emily after Ryan told me he planned to marry her. I froze. You investigated my fiancée? Yes. What did you find? Olivia lowered her cup onto the table. I found someone willing to trade loyalty for comfort. Her words hurt because they matched everything I had overheard. I whispered, I thought I knew her. So did I. I stared at Olivia for several seconds before finding my voice. So you already knew what kind of person Emily was. She nodded slowly. I wanted to believe I was wrong. Why didn't you warn me? I almost did. What stopped you? You loved her. That shouldn't have mattered. It mattered because people rarely believe strangers over the person they trust. I looked down my coffee. I probably wouldn't have believed you. I know. Silence settled between us. Finally, I asked, do you hate Ryan? Olivia smiled sadly. I used to. What changed? I realized hatred kept me connected to him. So you forgave him? No. Then what? I moved forward. I frowned. Isn't that the same thing? Not at all. She folded her hands. Forgiveness is a choice. Moving forward is survival. I repeated her words quietly. Moving forward is survival. She nodded. Ryan wants everyone to stay trapped around him. He enjoys being the center of every emotion. That sounds familiar. You've seen it too? I lived it. I told her about Emily canceling dates, making excuses, and convincing me every problem was somehow my fault. Olivia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sighed. Ryan taught Emily well. You think she changed because of him? I think selfish people encourage each other. That answer stayed with me. Before leaving, I stood. Thank you. For what? For telling me the truth instead of feeding my anger. She smiled. I don't want revenge anymore. What do you want? I want Ryan to stop hurting people. I nodded. I understand. Over the next several weeks, I visited Olivia often. Sometimes we discussed business. Sometimes we shared stories. Sometimes we simply drank coffee without speaking much. Each conversation made me feel lighter. One afternoon she asked, have you answered Emily yet? I pulled out my phone. 23 missed calls. 41 text messages. Olivia raised an eyebrow. That's a lot. I laughed for the first time in months. I know. Will you reply? I locked the screen. No. Why? Because she doesn't miss me. What does she miss? Knowing I would always be waiting. Olivia smiled. Good answer. Days later, my phone rang again. Emily. I watched the screen until it stopped. Another message arrived. Please talk to me. I deleted it without opening the conversation. For once, silence felt stronger than words. The following weekend, Olivia invited me to a charity fundraiser. You don't have to come, she said. I'd like to. It'll help you remember there's still good in the world. She was right. Helping strangers, laughing with volunteers, and forgetting my pain for a few hours reminded me I was still alive. When the event ended, Olivia said, you're smiling. I didn't notice. I did. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Emily. It was a news alert. I opened it. A photograph filled the screen. Ryan stood beside Emily, both dressed in expensive clothes. Below the picture, bold letters announced, Ryan Brooks announces engagement to Emily Carter. I stared at the headline. Olivia quietly asked, "Are you okay?" I looked at the smiling couple one last time. Then I locked my phone. Yes. Really? I smiled. For the first time since everything fell apart, I meant it. I don't want her back anymore. Olivia studied my face before smiling back. Then today, isn't there victory? I slipped my phone into my pocket. No, it isn't. As we walked toward the parking lot together, I realized something unexpected. Ryan had taken the woman I thought I couldn't live without. Life had quietly shown me I no longer needed her at all. 6 months changed more than the previous 5 years ever had. I no longer woke up thinking about Emily. Instead, I looked forward to every charity meeting with Olivia. One Saturday morning, she greeted me with a smile. "You're late." I blamed traffic. "You always blame traffic, because it always sounds believable." She laughed. "Come on, the volunteers are waiting." We spent the morning packing food boxes for struggling families. While handing supplies to an elderly man, I quietly said, "Thank you for coming today." He smiled. "No, thank you for helping." After he left, Olivia nudged my shoulder. "You looked happy." I was. "You've changed." "So have you." She looked away. "I hope that's a good thing." "It is." As the weeks passed, we worked together almost every weekend. Sometimes we painted community centers. Sometimes we visited children's hospitals. Sometimes we simply planned fundraising events over coffee. Every conversation felt easy. One afternoon I admitted, "I've never had a friendship like this." Olivia smiled. "Neither have I." "Why?" "Because I stopped pretending." "Pretending? To be perfect?" I nodded. "I know that feeling." She looked directly at me. "No, Ethan." "What?" "You don't." "I don't." "You spent years pretending someone else's happiness mattered more than your own." Her words caught me off guard. I thought that's what love meant. She shook her head. "No." "Then what is love?" "It's feeling safe enough to be yourself." I stayed quiet. Nobody had ever described love that way. A few days later we met at a small cafe after another fundraiser. She placed 2 cups on the table. "No sugar." "You remembered. You always drink it black." I smiled. "You notice everything." "I notice people who matter." My heart skipped. Before I could answer, a cheerful woman walked toward us. "Olivia." Olivia stood and hugged her. "Grace." She turned toward me. "Ethan, this is Grace Collins." Grace smiled warmly. "So you're Ethan. I hope that's a good reaction." "It is." Grace laughed. "I've heard plenty about you." I raised an eyebrow. "Hopefully nothing embarrassing." "Oh, mostly that you're stubborn." Olivia sighed. I said determined. Grace grinned. I translated. We all laughed. After Grace ordered coffee, she leaned toward Olivia. "I'll leave you 2 alone in a minute." "You don't have to." "I know." Grace looked at me. "Take care of her." Olivia immediately protested. "Grace." "What?" "We're friends." Grace smiled knowingly. "Of course." She collected her cup. I suddenly remembered another meeting. As she walked away, I looked at Olivia. "She's very observant." "Too observant." "I think she likes teasing you." "She enjoys it far too much." I laughed. "So do I." She pointed at me. "Don't encourage her." That evening I drove home smiling. For the first time in years, happiness felt natural instead of forced. Weeks later my phone buzzed while I was leaving work. The caller's name made me stop. Emily. I rejected the call. Seconds later, another call appeared. Then another. I silenced my phone. When I met Olivia that evening, she noticed immediately. Something happened. Emily called. "Did you answer?" "No." "Do you want to?" I thought carefully before speaking. "No." She smiled softly. "I'm proud of you." Those 4 words meant more than she realized. For the first time, I wasn't walking away from my past because I was angry. I was walking toward a future that finally felt honest. A few evenings later, Olivia invited me to dinner after another charity meeting. "This isn't another planning session, is it?" I asked. She smiled. "No paperwork tonight." I'm relieved. We found a quiet restaurant overlooking the river. For several minutes we talked about ordinary things. Then the conversation slowed. Olivia looked out the window. "Ethan, can I ask something?" "Anything." "Why do you still spend so much time with me?" I smiled. "Because I enjoy it." "You could spend time with anyone." "I don't want anyone else." She looked surprised. "What do you mean?" I took a slow breath. I've been trying to ignore it. Ignore what? My feelings. Silence settled between us. She lowered her eyes. Ethan, I know this isn't how either of us planned life. She stayed quiet. I don't want to hide anymore. She finally looked at me. Are you saying you love me? Yes. The word felt lighter than I expected. I love you. She closed her eyes briefly. You've made this very difficult. Because you don't feel the same? She answered immediately. No. Hope returned. Then why? She reached across the table and gently held my hand. Because I do feel the same. My heart raced. Then what's stopping us? She sighed. People. I don't care what people think. I do. Why? They'll say we're trying to hurt Ryan. I've never wanted revenge. I know. They'll say you're using me. I know. They'll say I married Ryan's ex-wife to make Emily jealous. I know. I squeezed her hand. But they'll be wrong. She smiled sadly. They usually are. I leaned closer. What did you start loving me? She laughed softly. I don't know. Try. The day you thanked every volunteer before thanking yourself. Really, you always saw other people first. And you. The day you stopped talking about Emily. I nodded slowly. I think that's when I finally started living again. She smiled. I think so too. Months passed peacefully. Our relationship stayed private. Meanwhile, news about Ryan and Emily became impossible to avoid. One headline showed Emily arguing with Ryan outside a restaurant. Another reported Ryan attending parties without her. When I mentioned it, Olivia simply said, people who build relationships on selfishness eventually compete with each other. She was right. One evening, I stood beside the river where we had first admitted our feelings. I reached into my pocket. Olivia noticed immediately. Ethan, I smiled nervously. I've already survived the worst day of my life. She laughed. So this doesn't scare me anymore. I knelt. Olivia Brooks, will you marry me? She covered her mouth. Ethan, I don't have a mansion. I know. I don't have Ryan's money. I know. But I promise you'll never wonder whether you're loved. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered yes. I laughed. Was that a yes? She nodded through happy tears. Yes. Weeks later, we exchanged vows in a small private ceremony. Only family and close friends attended. Grace hugged us both. I knew this would happen. Pastor Michael Hayes smiled warmly. I now pronounce you husband and wife. I kissed Olivia. For the first time, the future felt completely mine. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Someone had shared our wedding photographs online. The headline appeared everywhere. Ryan Brooks' ex-wife marries Emily Carter's former fiancée. Within minutes, Emily called. Then again, and again. 32 missed calls appear before noon. Olivia looked at my phone. Will you answer? I smiled, locked the screen, and slipped it into my pocket. No. Together we walked forward, leaving every unanswered call exactly where it belonged. In the past, marriage brought peace into my life, but it brought chaos into someone else's. Every morning, another headline appeared. Every afternoon, another rumor spread. One evening, I tossed my phone onto the couch. Olivia looked up from her book. More news. I nodded. They won't stop talking about us. She smiled. People love unusual stories. They're calling our wedding the biggest surprise of the year. I've seen worse headlines. I laughed. So have I. She closed her book. Ignore them. I am. And Ryan. I stopped thinking about him. She reached for my hand. Good. A week later, Daniel called. Ethan, are you with Olivia? We're both here. Put me on speaker. I did. Olivia smiled. Hello, Daniel. I have news. What happened? Ryan's business is falling apart. I frowned. Already. It started months ago. Olivia asked quietly. The old cases? Yes. Daniel continued. Former employees finally came forward. What changed? I asked. They were afraid before. And now, they think Ryan can finally lose. Olivia stayed silent. Daniel added, several investors also agreed to testify. Against him? Yes. I looked at Olivia. Did you expect this? She shook her head. I expected consequences, not revenge. No. Daniel spoke again. There's someone else involved. Who? An investigative journalist. What did she find? Years of hidden complaints. Olivia asked her name. Sophia Reed. I've heard of her. So have I admitted. Daniel continued. She's publishing everything. When? Tomorrow morning. After the call ended, I looked at Olivia. Does this make you happy? She thought for a moment. No, it doesn't. I don't enjoy watching people fall. Even Ryan? Especially Ryan. I nodded slowly. I think I understand. The next morning, every news channel carried the same story. Sophia Reed had uncovered years of accusations from former employees, unpaid contractors, and angry investors. By lunchtime, Ryan's company had lost several major clients. My phone buzzed again. Emily. I ignored it. Another message appeared. Please tell Olivia I need 5 minutes. I handed the phone to my wife. She read the message quietly. What will you do? I asked. Nothing. Nothing. I don't know her meeting. Minutes later, another message arrived. Emily wrote again. Please. Everything is a misunderstanding. Olivia sighed. It always becomes a misunderstanding after the damage is done. She typed one reply. I watched silently. What did you say? She showed me the screen. Forgiveness does not require reopening closed doors. Emily never answered. That evening we sat together on our porch. I asked, do you really forgive her? Olivia looked toward the sunset. I don't carry hate anymore. Is that forgiveness? It's freedom. I smiled. I like that answer. She leaned against my shoulder. So do I. Days later, another article appeared. Ryan publicly denied every accusation. Hours later, 3 former business partners announced they would testify anyway. I looked at the television. It's getting worse. Olivia quietly replied. Truth usually becomes louder after fear disappears. For the first time, I realized nobody needed to destroy Ryan. His own choices had already started doing that. Watching everything unfold, I felt no excitement. Only relief that my life no longer depended on his decisions or Emily's promises. For once, peace felt stronger than revenge, and I wanted peace more than anything else. A few weeks later, another story reached every news channel. Ryan had accused one of his own investors of disloyalty. I looked at Olivia. He's turning against everyone. She nodded. When trust disappears, fear takes its place. Later that afternoon, Daniel called again. I thought you want another update. What happened now? I asked. Daniel answered. Ryan discovered Emily has been meeting another investor. I frowned. Meeting him for what? Protection. Olivia crossed her arms. She expected Ryan's company to collapse. Daniel continued. She wanted someone wealthy waiting if everything failed. I slowly shook my head. That's exactly what she did to me. Olivia looked at me. Some people never stop chasing security, even when it destroys them. They in his sight. It became public. Ow! The investor admitted everything after Ryan confronted him. What happened then? Daniel laughed without humor. They argued in front of reporters. I turned on the television. The clip appeared immediately. Ryan shouted, "You betrayed me." Emily answered, "I protected myself." "You used me." She pointed at him. "You used everyone." The reporter spoke over the shouting. Their engagement appeared finished. I switched off the television. Olivia remained quiet. Finally, I asked, "Does this surprise you?" "No, it doesn't. They built their relationship on betrayal." I nodded. Betrayal finally came home. She smiled sadly. Karma often repeats familiar lessons. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Then Olivia asked, "What do you want now?" I looked around our apartment. "I want a peaceful life. Nothing else. I already have everything that matters." She smiled. "What if we bought a home? A real home?" She laughed. "Unless you want to live here forever. I'd rather build something with you." So would I. Within 2 months, we found a small house with a quiet garden. It wasn't luxurious. It wasn't famous. It simply felt warm. While carrying another box inside, I laughed. I've never been happier unpacking dishes. Olivia smiled. There are dishes. Our home. Our future. That evening we ate dinner while sitting on unopened boxes. I looked around the room. This feels perfect. It does. The following Monday, I returned to work. Just before lunch, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Ethan." "Yes." "Someone wants to see you." "Who?" "Emily." My smile disappeared. "Send her in." She entered slowly. Her eyes were red. She looked exhausted. "Ethan." I remained standing. What do you need? She wiped away tears. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I said nothing. I chose money over loyalty. Silence answered her. I thought wealth would make me happy. I still said nothing. She took one step closer. I lost Ryan. I looked at her calmly. I know. I lost my friends. I waited. I lost the future I imagined. She covered her face. I lost everything. Finally, I spoke. What do you want from me? Forgiveness. I searched my own heart before answering. Months earlier, I would have felt anger. Weeks earlier, I might have felt satisfaction. Now I felt neither. I truly am sorry, she whispered. I believe you. Hope appeared in her eyes. But that doesn't change anything. It doesn't. No. She cried harder. I wish I had chosen you. I quietly replied. You already made your choice. She lowered her head. I'm too late. Yes. She turned toward the door. I'm sorry, Ethan. After she left, I stood beside the window for several minutes. I expected pain. I expected triumph. Instead, I felt absolutely nothing. That silence inside me became the greatest proof that I had finally left my past behind forever. 3 months passed before the final pieces of Ryan's empire collapsed. One morning, Daniel called. I thought you should hear this from me. What happened? It's over. What do you mean? The board removed Ryan as chief executive. I sat quietly. So he lost the company. Yes. What about the investigation? Daniel answered. The investigators uncovered years of fraud, hidden accounts, and false reports. I closed my eyes. I always thought someone like him would escape. So did many people. What changed? Too many witnesses finally spoke. Olivia smiled from across the breakfast table. I placed the call on speaker. Daniel continued. Investors withdrew their support this morning. No one stayed. Not one. After the call ended, Olivia reached across the table. How do you feel? I expected to celebrate. And I don't. She smiled gently. You've changed. I think I have. The following week, every newspaper carried Ryan's photograph. Former friends avoided him. Former partners denied knowing him. Every interview made his situation worse. Meanwhile, another headline appeared. Emily had left Ryan. I looked at the article. She walked away. Olivia nodded. She always follows security. There isn't any left. No. Another article appeared the next day. People blamed Emily almost as much as Ryan. Nobody believed she had been innocent. I quietly folded the newspaper. They've both lost everything. Olivia looked at me. Not everything. What do you mean? They still have the chance to become better people. I hope they use it. Weeks passed peacefully. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered. Hello. Ethan. I recognized the voice immediately. Emily. I won't keep you long. What do you need? One meeting. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. I remained silent. I won't ask again. You finally decide. One conversation. Thank you. We agreed to meet at a quiet park the next afternoon. When I arrived, Emily was already sitting on a bench. She stood slowly. Thank you for coming. I nodded. You said this would be the last time. It will. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, I'm sorry. I waited. I don't mean the kind of apology I gave before. I folded my arms. Then tell me the difference. She looked directly into my eyes. I finally understand what I destroyed. I stayed quiet. I confused money with happiness. She wiped away tears. I thought expensive things meant a better life. I still said nothing. She continued. I never understood unconditional love. The word sounded painfully honest. I understand now. I asked softly, why now? Because nobody stayed after the money disappeared. I looked toward the trees. And you have stayed? I slowly nodded. Yes. She covered her face. I threw away the only person who loved me without asking for anything. I let her cry without interrupting. When she finally looked up again, she whispered, I don't deserve forgiveness. I answered honestly, maybe not. She accepted my words without arguing. For the first time, I saw no pride inside her, only regret. And somehow, that made the conversation even sadder than I had imagined. Yet my heart remained calm, untouched by the past that once controlled every part of my life. Emily took a slow breath before speaking again. I don't expect another chance. You shouldn't. I know. She looked at the ground. I only wanted you to hear the truth from me. I'm listening. My biggest mistake wasn't choosing Ryan. I waited. My biggest mistake was believing love had a price. The word stayed between us for several seconds. Then I quietly replied, "Thank you for telling me." She looked surprised. "You're thanking me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because your betrayal forced me to become someone stronger." Tears filled her eyes again. "I don't deserve your kindness." "This isn't kindness." "What is it?" "It's closure." She nodded slowly. "I understand. I hope you do." She stood. "I won't bother you again. I believe you." She managed a small smile. "I hope your life stays beautiful." "It already is." She turned away without looking back. I watched her disappear through the park gate. For years, I thought that moment would feel like victory. Instead, it simply felt finished. I walked home beneath the evening sky. When I opened the front door, the smell of dinner filled the house. Olivia smiled from the kitchen. "Perfect timing. I was hoping you'd say that." She laughed. "Wash your hands." "Yes, ma'am." As I returned to the dining table, I noticed 2 extra cups. "Are we expecting company?" She smiled mysteriously. "We already had company." I looked confused. "Ooh, our family doctor. Is everything all right?" She reached across the table and held my hands. "Everything is wonderful." My heart skipped. "Olivia." She laughed softly. "You look terrified." "I am." She squeezed my fingers. "Dr. Hannah Wilson confirmed something today." "What?" "We're having a baby." For several seconds I couldn't speak. "You mean?" She nodded with tears in her eyes. "You're going to be a father." I laughed and cried at the same time. "Really? Really?" I stood and wrapped my arms around her. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. I've never been happier." She rested her forehead against mine. "I knew you would be." A gentle knock interrupted us. Olivia smiled. "That must be Hannah." I opened the door. Dr. Hannah Wilson stood outside carrying a small folder. "I forgot these papers." I laughed. "Please come in." She handed the folder to Olivia. "Congratulations again." "Thank you," I said. She smiled warmly. "I've watched many families begin. I still can't believe this is real." "It is." After she left, Olivia and I carried our dinner onto the back porch. The sun slowly disappeared beyond the trees. I looked at my wife. "You know something?" "What?" "I used to think marrying Ryan's biggest rival would be my revenge. And now, I was wrong." She smiled. "What changed?" "I finally understand revenge was never the answer." "What was?" "Becoming the man I wanted to be." She squeezed my hand. "You already are." I watched the sunset paint the sky with warm colors. Ryan and Emily remained trapped by the choices they had made. I couldn't change their past. I didn't want to. My future was waiting beside me, holding my hand and carrying our child. The chapter of pain that once defined my life finally closed without anger. I smiled as the last light faded across the horizon. For the first time, I felt completely whole, completely free, and completely certain that nobody could ever take this life away from me again.